365 days of horsemanship, day 136 and 137. Not too bad actually, not too bad. Had to take a mental health day. And day 136 was, a short day. I came up and again was really just looking for some comfort with the horses, and I found that relatively easy with both of them. The grass is greener here, which is really nice to see. There's been a little bit of rain, which has just been amazing, and it's so incredible, really miraculous to see how quickly the grass recovers and starts to grow. It's just really incredible. And so both of the horses actually have an abundance of food, and when I came up the day before yesterday, they were both quite happy to eat and just have me be in their presence, which was really nice. And then today I came up, definitely I think I'm going to be for some period in a slightly sort of rebuilding mental health place. It's going to take me some time to come to terms with what's happened, and that's okay. And I had a nice day today. I came up and Lawrence is got a lot of grass, which is cool. He definitely is, I think it's a combination of there being lots of grass and this session that I had with him when I was really stressed, where I just walked and just couldn't scratch him, couldn't give him his scratches. And since then, he's not really asked me for any, which I think is really interesting. I think partially, the weather having rained is probably partly to do with that, because he's probably less itchy. I think it's also partly literally a relationship thing where he's just a bit uncertain about my behavior. And I think it's also really interesting because Elsa talks about when a horse has high stress levels, they can't focus on anyone else's needs except their own. And definitely that was the place that I was in, where I just could not focus on his needs. And what it did really show me is that I had been giving a lot of his needs and sort of taking very little of my needs, which is fine, but it's not necessarily always a quality of a good leader. Because even though a good leader does look after whoever it is, also a good leader takes care of their own needs and sets an example to others as to how to take care of their own needs too. And I think with Lawrence, I just need to try to find a better balance between us. And I think I need to work out how to be a good leader for him. It's quite challenging with him, to be honest. With Mia, it is as well, but in a different way. And at the moment, I feel like I'm learning quite well how to do that, because I think Mia and I are quite similar. She's a very good leader in some senses, but I think that she's also a very good leader and equally a difficult leader sometimes, or a less than pleasant leader sometimes, and certainly a very self-centered one because of her anxiety. And I think when my anxiety has been really high the last few days, I've really noticed some parallels between her and myself historically, and now I'm in a position where I'm trying to find better ways to deal with my anxiety. I'm trying to grow as a person and a horseman, and it's really helped me to learn how to be a better leader for her, but I'll come on to that really more in a minute. But with Lawrence, him and I are similar in some other ways, but he's very shy and very easily dominated, and so it's much more difficult to work out how to be a strong leader for him without simply just becoming his best friend and servant, which I think is sort of where I'm like walking this grey area at the moment, trying to define how to behave, because I think he's also self-centered through his anxiety in his own ways. I think he's just a sort of flighter rather than a fighter. But because he's quite naturally introverted, his flight is like internalized. So for him, it's like he just internalizes back into doing something that he wants to do, and that's kind of it. So I had this session with him today where initially he came to say hello, and then he was eating, and he pretty much was eating the entire time that we were together. I was walking a fair amount, and also trying to come by and stroke through him and down his back, and at no point did he look up and then ask for scratches. It's quite interesting because even the act of me having walked has disengaged him so much. So that's quite interesting. So I'm not really sure whether I offer some scratches at this point. I think that's probably what I should do. I didn't do it today because I wasn't really sure if it was the right path to take, but now on reflection after the session, I think I can see that probably that is going to be a good opportunity for me to show him that I understand what he needs kind of on my terms, and offer him scratches sort of before he feels the need to ask for them. I think it's going to be about it's not about not offering them too much. I think it's something as well. The day after tomorrow, I am flying to Poland to see Elsa Sinclair again for the third time this year, which is going to be pretty awesome. I booked it a while ago, and a couple of weeks back I booked it, and I think it's going to be really good for me. I'm going on my own, which I am a little anxious about, given everything that's happened, and but I think it's going to be good for me. I think it's going to be what I need to get away, really immerse myself again, and I do have some. I think that'll be my question to her is kind of where I've got to, and then how I go from there, I think. As I think I just sort of moved him from one aspect of self-focus to another aspect of self-focus. And I think when he had less grass as well, he's more preoccupied with scratches. But I hadn't really at any point moved him out of self-focus. And I think that's another thing is maybe, I need to become more, not tougher, but more confident in walking and remaining out of flow with him until I see him change his focus. And I think maybe with the scratching, that's what I need to do as well, is I need to scratch him until he changes his focus, and maybe reinforce the category changes for him as well. And I think I also just need to get better at reading when the category changes are. And that's also something that I'm hoping to gain from Elsa's clinic in Poland. It's just to continue to learn more of the language and continue to make more leaps and more understanding. So I'm looking forward to it. With Mia, it was a really good session too. I am still trying to walk her as often as I can, and so I took her with her buddy to the arena today. I wasn't really sure how it was going to go actually when I came in, because of obviously all this new grass, and as I was walking to find her, I was thinking, well, how am I going to manage this? I'm not really sure what I'm going to do if she doesn't want to come, if there's a lot of grass. Like, I'm not really sure how dominant I'm willing to be today. And yeah, she was actually sleeping right in the corner. She'd sort of somehow maneuvered Moondust to be like a little wall protecting her from the world, I guess, while she had a nap. And so I just came and approached really slowly. At some point she looked up at me and I called to her, but she didn't come. And there was some focus changes, so I just kind of kept moving to on the focus changes, just kept changing my position, but I was relatively close to them by that point anyway. and just kind of integrating with the herd for a couple of minutes with where they were at. And then eventually I was able to go over and see Moondust, and then she actually came to see me. I was able to hold to her. It was interesting because I actually had looked at my phone, and the time that it had taken me was 5 minutes, and it seemed very long. I felt like I was there for a long time. I felt like I'd really invested a lot of time in waiting until she was ready to be halted. And interestingly, it was only 5 minutes. And I think that kind of gave me some confidence that actually I should be doing that more, and I should be spending that time more, because that actually is really powerful for her. So, and really powerful for any horse, I think. So I took them up, and I got them in the arena, and I've been really realising that when I'm playing with dominance, I am the leader all the time. And if I'm not, then it's not fair. So because I need to provide the decisions. And so really the best way to manage that is to be flexible and listen. And so the goal is to be the leader all the time, right? But it's also like a 50-50 or like a 49-51 thing, where I'm constantly trying to read what she would also like to do and try to build that into my decision making, so that I'm making good decisions. So it's like I'm the one making the decisions because we're in dominant leadership and I have the halter on, and so it's the fairest and sort of safest for her. The way that she's going to feel safest is if I am confident in my own decisions, and then the best way to help her feel happy as my follower is for my decisions to include things that she wants to do. So that was really what I worked on. I put myself on a cloverleaf pattern, which for those who don't know, go look it up. It's basically you're just kind of walking around the arena. Like if the arena's like this, you're kind of like cutting in, but you're always going the same direction. So it's you turn as if you're changing the rein, but then you don't change the rein, and you're doing that like A, C, B, and E. So yeah. Anyway, go look it up. It'll make sense if you see a picture if you haven't seen it before. And I did that basically just because the last time I had just walked her on the rail, that was the second time, and I already felt like she was getting bored, which is a problem for her. So I just wanted to switch it up a little bit. And so I got on that pattern, and she wanted to stop a lot today and look at the herd. The herd have moved, one of the herds have moved fields, her old herd have moved fields right next to the arena. And so she was very interested in their presence. And so I kind of was trying to practice my walk-halt transitions. And I had to do that relatively regularly if I wanted to do it before she decided she wanted to stop. Because that was kind of my goal, is it was quite obvious that she wanted to stop often and look at the herd in the environment. And I had kind of two options. I can either ignore all of that and just keep walking on my pattern, which possibly is advice that some trainers would give, and I don't know if it's the wrong advice. I don't think that's the wrong advice. I just think for the kind of for me, it didn't feel like the right advice for that moment. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But for me, I wanted to instead sort of be a little bit flexible to her needs and to her desires, and to say, okay, you want to stop a lot. In that case, let's practice our walk to halt transitions. And so it was, probably 2 or 3 times per sort of run of one line, one direction. I would need to stop, and I was trying, and I would say I had about a 50 to 60% success rate, where I would stop sometimes, and it would be before she had stopped herself, and she had some good licking and chewing when that happened, and it definitely felt like that she was thinking about it, and then I had done it. And then when we stopped, I then made the decisions to look around and check the herd and the environment myself, and then walk on again. I think it went quite well. I think I would need 2 or 3 sessions doing that to really know if it was working or not. I think we started it today, but I don't think that even in 25 minutes, I don't feel that I really saw like enough progress to be like, this is definitely working really well. But it felt good, and it wasn't getting worse, which is definitely something that's happened before when I've pushed her through things. So that's what I'm kind of trying to avoid. And the theory is, in my mind, my theory is that it's not forever. You know, it's not like, I'm not expecting her to be like this, you know, forever. Like Linda Pirelli says, like, your horse is like a car, and like we allow our horses to do things we'd never allow our cars to do. I think that's true. But I think for me, it's about if I'm the leader and I can show her that I am always making decisions that she agrees with, whether that's walking or stopping and looking at the herd or this or this or this or this, whatever. And I do that by listening and noticing what she wants to do and building that into my decisions as the dominant leader, then over time, she will start to feel like my decisions are good. Once she feels like my decisions are good, she won't feel the need to make so many of her own decisions because she'll just trust me to make good decisions and she'll feel safe. And if I don't think we need to stop, then she won't feel like we need to stop because she knows that if I felt we needed to stop, I would stop and I would look, because that's what I'm showing her that I know how to do now. So that's the idea, which I think is kind of more like Elsa's philosophy, but I'm trying to kind of build it into dominant horsemanship, which like Elsa doesn't really like sort of advise it, but does advise it. I don't know that she really gives advice either way. She's like pretty like, do whatever you want, take the philosophy. And I definitely don't think that blending is something that many people do, but it's definitely something that's really important to me because I feel like I don't want to be in a box. I'd like to be on a spectrum, and I'd like for my horses to see me as me every day, whether or not we're kind of playing with more or less tools. I'd like that to be like a smooth transition between more extrinsic motivators and less extrinsic motivators. And additionally, you know, I don't have the hours and the time to just do everything freedom-based training. So I have to have some dominant training in there as well. And so I'm kind of trying to learn about the ingredients as I'm going along. But I think it's good. I felt like I was a good leader today. For me, being a good leader is a lot about body language. So it's like I am deciding where I am. I have my body language. My body is here. I am tall. I am strong. If she's going another way, I'm not yielding to her. I am going this other way. And then when she's back in flow with me, at that point, then I'm like, oh, now I'm here. I'm going to make this decision that's similar to the decision you just tried to make, so we can do this together. And that seems to be kind of going quite well. Ideally, I make the decision before she feels the need to. But we'll see. It's going well.